6 years has been, it looks like a long number. You know, people say, you've been running Artist Aloud for 6 years. But I think it takes time, and it takes a lot of patience to be able to grow something literally from the start. When we were working very closely with record labels and artists were being released, literally where labels used to talk to each other and say, you know, I'm releasing an album now, so don't release now. I mean, that can't happen today. You know, we ourselves are releasing about 4 to 5 artists every week. So you cannot even compare the two scenarios. And you know, when I hear people saying, "Oh, there's no great music today," indie pop or non-film was in those days when you had the Alishas and the Sunita Raos and the Baba Sehgals and all of them. Those same artists today will have as much of a challenge as a newcomer. And it's not because they're not as good or the newcomers aren't that good. The reality is that the shelf life of everything has really, really come down. For us as a platform, we face as much challenges as an individual artist. You know, so a lot of people have this belief that, "Arey, you're a platform, you should be able to get things done easier." If we were to be able to use the traditional medium the way, say, Bollywood does, you know, Bollywood hasn't had to go and create a platform for itself. Everybody else has created platforms for it. You know, and the beauty of Bollywood is you don't have to be a Yash Chopra. You know, you could be a first timer and you'll get access to everything. I'm not saying it's a piece of cake and there's no struggle and, you know, there's not a lot of investment and all that. Of course there is. But the prime thing is, you know, as I said prior, is that Bollywood hasn't had to create the platform. The platform has been built for Bollywood. We started with 30 artists, and initially our offering to the artists was, you know, Hungama has this distribution network. It offers it to production houses, it offers it to, you know, other labels. And we wanted to tell artists that we weren't telling them don't go to a label, but we said if you decide not to, we are here. And that's what the idea was, that we get their content, they retain the rights, we acquire the license, and we put it out for distribution. And you know, I knew even at that time that there were a lot of artists who had possibly been sitting with music in their computers and just waiting for, you know, so you had your MySpace and your Reverb Nation that was pretty popular at that time. But I think there was still a space for an artist to want to look at an official release, you know, because you can only do that much when you say, hey, check out my new song on my Facebook page, right? It is still relevant even today. It's more relevant today, but having your music released through an establishment or, you know, an entity that is like a third party who is literally kind of felicitating you or endorsing the fact that you're an artist worth putting out is still relevant for every artist. And that is what we've also held pretty sacrosanct from day one, is every music that we listen to, every video that we see is approved and then put on, rather it's moderated. Essentially, you know, we wanted to, right from the beginning, make the artists feel completely free to express, you know, how they believe their music or their style should be. But at the same time, we wanted to make sure when the consumer gets this content, somebody has done the dirty work of actually sifting it. Because if you're actually going to give them the freedom of expression, there has to be some sense of moderation or some sense, not just in terms of ensuring that there is no explicit content, but it was about making sure that we are able to, you know, do justice to what is being put out there, both from the artist's point of view as well as the consumer, right? And yes, we definitely wanted to be a consumer platform. That is why the artist would come to us. And with the strength of that distribution to say that, you know, all you have to do is give us your content and we will take it to the world, you know. So that is where the Hungama strength would come into play. We did it pretty well, I would say, for the first 6 months, where distribution on its own was enough. But then we really couldn't turn around the traditional medium to look at us as, you know, a content pool or a content sourcing entity, because they were just so engulfed with Bollywood, right? There was no space for this kind of content. And if you look at it, there are radio stations today that need television to make a song popular, and only then they will play it. So we didn't have that option either, right? So we realized that, okay, 6 months down the line, we can't just be distribution. We've got to start building ourselves as media, right? So we started our social media pages. So we started Facebook, we started Twitter, Twitter was very later actually. Initially it was Facebook, and there was YouTube, right? And we obviously started then, using the artist content and acquiring the license for putting it out on these platforms as well. But there again, there was a sense of, okay, what next, right? And we wanted to try and do something on ground to be able to get these artists to get some kind of a face value or visibility, and let people know, that in a captive audience that, hey, this is the music. So we tied up at Planet M, which still had some stores at that time. And, we brought in some of our artists to come and perform there. Simultaneously at that time, there was a movie launch that Bollywood Hungama had done, and they had live streamed it, right? That made me feel, hey, why not do this, right? So we actually did a little bit of a test run, and we said, okay, let's, bring entertainment through technology, right? So that created a positioning for us, which actually made us suddenly feel and look and, be presented in a very different way. That gave birth to an innovative IP called WebCert. We started the WebCert with BPCL as a brand coming on board. And, our first artist was Shibani Kashyap. And post that, every month we were bringing in different artists, and we managed to have brands like Close Up and Nokia and, different brands that came in. And I think for the brand manager, it was like, kuch alag karte hain. And obviously he wanted to, get some brownie points with his boss to say, look, I've done something different. And the concept was very simple: get the artist into a studio, no taam-jham of production, just a multi-camera setup, live stream, and experience. This went really well for almost a year and a half, and we were constantly doing these formats. But somewhere along the way, we were becoming an agency. Brand has come, integrate the brand and do stuff. So that really made me feel very unnerved that this is not Artist Aloud. Artist Aloud is not here to create properties for brands. It is a destination. It's a platform on its own. Yes, we wanted to create, we had artists like Shankar Mahadevan and Shilpa Rao and Indian Ocean and Euphoria and Himesh Reshammiya. Name the big names. Everybody came in to do this format because, one, they found it innovative. Shankar at that time said, I want to do this because I want to be the first artist in the Bollywood space to, create the digital and ride the digital wave. While we were doing WebCerts, we were able to, me and the team at that time, we sat down and we said, let's look at creating another property. And we came out with this concept of Thank God It's Rock on Friday. So not only was the WebCert pioneered by us, and then of course a lot of people followed that, even appointment viewing, we were the ones who started digital content. And the format was pretty simple. We went and we shot with 14 of the biggest rock bands in the country in a documentary format, no host. And a lot of our ideas have always been, how do you make this sasta tikau, right? So we didn't want to get into the whole thing of getting some fancy host who'll go and talk. So we said, let the artist speak. Let him, speak on camera and express himself. And, we started with Parikrama and we ended with Gary Lawyer, and there was everybody in between. So all your Raghu Dikshits and Swaratmas and Avyas, all of them were featured. We went and we shot this, and then we said, wait, let's not put it out. Let's see if we can get a brand on board, right? And we did. We managed to get Seagram's, right? And I think it was a fabulous marriage of us having to do what we wanted to do, and then getting a brand, and then giving them the kind of deliverables and media and all of that they would want. That went really well. We did a season 2 where we then managed to also get Dell and Intel. But what also happened when we did season 2 is we were so spoiled with what happened in season 1 that we said, no, let's do it our way and then go to brands. But what happened in the meantime was, it was another 2 years that had passed from the time we did a WebCert, and the whole understanding of digital changed. So people suddenly started looking at digital in the same ROI as television and radio, which, you can't blame the brand managers, but I truly believe it was not the right approach, right? And somewhere along the way, we also then, said that, okay, if we are creating our own content, but the only revenue model is brands or distribution, we have to relook at this whole piece, right? So we spent a lot of money to create content. The good thing is that that's our IP for life. And it's great content. We've done formats like New This Week, which are chat shows. We've done formats like Launchcast, where we actually brought in an artist with a live band into a studio, recording their entire album, from start to finish, totally live. So these are formats that obviously, they're very cost expensive in that sense, production wise, because you need to make it look good. It needs to be well shot, all of those things. But somewhere along the way, the idea was to make sure that we are able to create a sense of content meets technology meets, digital. Hi, I'm Soumini Sridhara Paul from Artist Aloud, Hungama. Keep reading radioandmusic.com and do subscribe to radioandmusic.com's YouTube channel.